Alright everyone, let's get started. Good to see so many familiar faces, and we have also provided some extra motivation, some food to bring you into the room, so I hope you stick around. And I'd like to thank Asan and the team for taking care of that and for organizing one event more with all of the hard work that goes into that, so that is much appreciated. So just by show of hands, has someone here heard of Power BI before? So more than half the room. That will make my job a lot easier. So let's crack on. My name is Flavio. I am a commercial manager at an engineering company called Arup, and we have engineers, architects, consultants working across more than 40 countries. And we have been working in very interesting projects over the last few decades. The one we are most proud of is perhaps the Sydney Opera House that just launched the company to the international scene. We have also collaborated in the Beijing airport, the largest airport in the world. You might have seen Sagrada Familia as well. We are helping the building to be finished by the 100th anniversary of Gaudi, the architect. We have contributed to the largest sea crossing in the world. That's the bottom left-hand side. And we've done stadiums and airports, so a range of different projects we have been working on. We have also been involved in more futuristic things, and this is the type of stuff that really excites me. So the one on the left is the project Uber Sky Tower, and Uber wants to launch flying taxis by 2023. It sounds absurd, but that's a plan that's close to us. We don't think we're going to see this in our lifetime, but maybe in a handful of years we'll be coming to work in a flying taxi. That is within reach. And the other thing we have been advising with is Hyperloop. And if you haven't heard about that, it's basically a train inside a pressured tube traveling at 1,200 kilometers per hour. So basically airplane speeds on the ground. It takes us from Edinburgh to London in 41 minutes. So that's pretty exciting stuff. And I usually present this slide to talk about the construction industry, and especially commercial or project management. I just told you about very interesting projects with a lot of innovation. But sometimes construction is slow to a lot of change, and if you think about the way we do commercial and project management, some things we do are done the same way they were done 20 years ago, with spreadsheets and emails, and you know how to drill. So this right here shows the status of analytics, and it says that most companies operate on the left-hand side of this chart, the traditional BI. BI is business intelligence. And all that we do on traditional BI is say what happened and why it happened. This slide is taken from Microsoft Business Summit's presentation, and they gave a very good example there. They told us about a company that produces parts for lifts. And for that company, traditional BI means that they can record failures and know why those failures happened. That's all they can tell. Moving on to the right-hand side of this chart, they start to delve into advanced analytics. What that allows them to do is start to get into predictive and prescriptive analytics. For that company, that means they can predict ahead of time which parts are going to break down, even before they break down. So they have introduced a concept called prescriptive maintenance. And what that is, they go on site and replace parts which are defective or even due to be inspected, and they replace those parts. And if you think about that, sounds counterintuitive. Why would you do that if the part is still operational? But the bottom line is they're saving money. So when they do their balance sheets, they are saving money by using this machine learning and artificial intelligence, which we'll hear about today. So that's something that's coming slowly into construction, and hopefully with tools like Power BI that I'm going to show you today, we have a tool on the way to start implementing this type of approach. So Power BI, what's this all about? Power BI is first and foremost a business analytics service. I'll show you in a few minutes some real-life examples that will become clearer. But what you can do in a nutshell is connect to multiple data sources. You can transform that data and then produce reports for your audience, which I can look at online instead of through attachments that we are usually used to see. This chart here to the right represents the BI quadrants. It's the the ecosystem of all the BI tools out there. And you can see that Microsoft is on the top right, so they are visionary and they are leaders in the market space. And I think they have been leading the pack for more than 10 years, and that really says something about the features of this software. And hopefully through this workshop, you'll see some of the reasons why they are leading the pack. A bit of background, actually Power BI started in Excel back in 2010, and back then it was a number of add-ons you could install on top of Excel to enhance its functionalities. What Microsoft realized over time is they had a winner there, so they packaged all of that stuff inside a software they called Power BI. That was in 2015, so it's just amazing to see that in 4 years how much market share they have taken, and I'll show you some of the reasons for that. And before we crack on to the demo, this is not a very sexy chart, but it's potentially the most important slide I have to show you. And with this, what I want you to know is that Power BI is not only about the data visualization, which is what most people think about at first. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes for us to reach the final product, namely data acquisition and transformation. So I usually say that I spend 80% of my time doing the first two. That's the old adage, garbage in, garbage out. So we need to have the right foundations in place to be able to reach a good product at the end. And no machine learning or AI thing can take place unless we have a very good data source. So I just wanted to convey this message that the first two steps are very important for everything I'm going to show you next. Right, so now I'm going to jump into a demo. And basically what I want to do with this is tell you about some features that Power BI has that can make your life easier. I'll start with a very simple spreadsheet, which is this right here. And this is the data that tries to simulate a project forecasts. And I'm doing a few things wrong here on purpose to tell you how you can use BI to make your life easier. So I have data laid out horizontally, which I'll need to transform into a vertical format to be more user-friendly for my users. I also have some pools I need to find a way to get rid of. I have a totals row I need to take out of my data. So there's a few things I want to do here. And to the right, I have stuff I'm adding to simulate what people might do to your spreadsheet, and you need to find a way to clean up this data before you upload it into Power BI. So let me show you how you can import this into Power BI and automate that data transformation. So I just opened Power BI desktop, and you can start by getting data from Excel. I'll just point to the sheet I just showed you. Close it. Oops. A second. So if you do any copy and pasting in your room, which is pretty much everyone, I would say, you could use these principles to automate your workflows, and you just need to set this up once, and all of that work will be automated. So that's what I'm going to do. When it's connected to that spreadsheet, I'll show you a second ago. And as I was saying, the goal here is to get out of this 3 columns: a column with my job number, a date, and a cost. So I need to find a way to clean this data up and automate the process. So the first thing I want to do here is say that this row right here is my header. So I'll just use this function, and I've promoted that row as the head of the table. So now BI knows what that entity is. The other thing I said we need to get rid of is the totals row. So I'll just untick that box, and that's out of the data. This is a very Excel-like experience. If you work with spreadsheets, this will not be difficult for you. And the other thing that we talked about is this stuff here to the right, which doesn't belong to the data. So I need to get that out of here. So I will select what I do want to keep, which is everything up until the last of the year, and I'm going to say remove other columns. So very intuitive, there's not much difficulty here, that's out of my data. And the final thing I said I needed to do is to convert this horizontal layout into a vertical one, everything under 3 columns. It's very convenient to have this function here that does pivot other columns, does the whole job for me. So you notice that I had some holes, it also removed the blinds for me, so it's all done automatically. And it's not as simple as transposing in Excel, if you know what I'm talking about. Transposing will just shift things around. This created a new entry for each combination of job number and date. So it automated the whole process straight away for me. So I just want to call this a date and this a cost. I'll say the date type and I'm done. If you have been paying attention here to the right hand side, as I have been doing steps, they have been recorded here to the right. And if I click the previous step, I can see the data at that stage. And that is very powerful because you can see in real time what the transformation is you are applying to the data. And another thing I usually say is that we can use this script here, which is effectively a script, as a self-documented workflow. Because I can hand this over to someone and they will instinctively know what I have done to transform my data. And that's a very powerful thing as well. So I'm done with the transformation. I just need to close and apply. I won't spend any time building a proper report because I'll show you one in a second. But the advantage of doing this is that you now are ready to start building any report you want. So just by dragging data into the screen, you can start to see the cost broken down by date. Or you can start to see the cost broken down by job number, for example. Better. So with minimal work, I clean that data and I have now the numbers and the figures available to start building any report I want. Sometimes people ask, well, that's great, but what's the real benefit of doing this? And the real benefit is that your data will change. And I'm going to change the numbers here and you'll see the effect of that in that report I've done. And when your data changes, all you have to do is hit that refresh. Power BI will load and your cost will update in real time for you. So you could connect this to a database, you can connect this to spreadsheets, you have a lot of flexibility, and that is the benefit you get out of automating that script. I've done it once, I don't have to ever do that again, it's already in place for me. And as an example, I was able to automate some workflows that used to take a few days, but now take a few minutes. So I need to hit that button, refresh, and if we've done those transformations right, this can save a lot of time. So that is a big selling point of the tool. I hope I convey that message to you. Any questions so far? Any quick question I can address now? Right. And I'm just having some connectivity issues, so I'll show you a demo report. This is not working properly because I don't have a connection here. But what I'm showing you is an example of a Power BI report. Again, this is all the demo data. I'm trying to represent a public financial dashboard through this. The big advantage here, everything is interactive and dynamic. So if I change the day slicer, you can see my cost and income updating accordingly. I could also want to look at a specific company, and that will show me how much profit I'm making in that company, how many people they have. And I'm supposed to have here a chart with a map showing the staff distribution in the country, but I don't have a connection here to show that. The other thing, now we start to get into the realm of the AI and the machine learning. That we can do with BI, for example, is we have here a spike in costs. So what I can do is ask Power BI to explain this increase to me. And what will happen is quite interesting. Behind the scenes, without me specifying any of this, BI will try to find the most suitable chart to explain me that increase in cost. It's trying to do it here by company. So it's telling me that the cost went up because those companies contributed to that. And that is a chart I haven't set up. It's Power BI looking at my data and trying to suggest to me what the most appropriate thing to answer that question. I have flexibility to change the chart if I want. And I can also do an interesting thing, which is voting this chart up or down. And this basically trains the algorithm behind the scenes, and I'm telling the AI, this is useful, show me more of this, or this is not useful, don't show me more. So Julian will talk more about this, but just to give you a flavor of the type of thing you can do. And the other advanced feature you can use is one I find quite interesting. It's called natural language processing. And what it is we can type questions in plain English, and the AI will interpret those and understand what the question is, and look in the data to give me an answer. For example, I could ask, how much cost in geotechnics? And the AI will tell me I've spent that much in geotechnics. But I could want to represent this by date, and the AI will plot me that on a date chart. These charts weren't set up at all. I'm basically building these on the fly as I go. And in the previous slide, I had a bullet point mentioning the AI is also a self-service tool. This is what a self-service means. We basically democratize data. That's the way Microsoft put it, and that's actually a very good term. We shift data or the responsibility to find answers to the consumers of the reports, not only the project control teams as we are very used to. So we basically make that data available for anyone to consume it through a very user-friendly interface. It doesn't get any easier than this. And we can as well set up some questions here, some default questions, and we can continue manipulating these. So I could ask for the percentage profit, excluding echo, and then I'll get a new chart. So you can see how flexible this can be. And it's all based on the same data, but just slicing and dicing it in many different ways. So I won't spend a lot more time going through the rest of the report. I'll just quickly show you a couple of the things here. We also have the financial analysis of your projects, where the bars represent cost or income. And you have many features like rolling up data to different levels of granularity. I had weeks, now I have months. You couldn't do this in Excel, for example. It's pretty much to set up a whole new chart, where here it's a lot more efficient, and it's a very intuitive way of navigating your data. And the final thing I want to say is that we also have the possibility of streaming data in real time. It's not the case here because this is only a demo. But if you have, for example, an energy sensor or a temperature meter, that could be streaming data in real time into a dashboard. And I could actually interact with that data. For example, we have a house, I could be interested in looking at the temperature of the living room, or seeing the temperature of the water in the pool. So this could all be set up dynamically in real time. So that's also another possibility, especially interesting if you're doing any type of asset management. So you could connect live data from those assets to a BI dashboard quite easily. Right, let me get back to the presentation. I've showed you how to build a simple Power BI report. I showed you an example of a demo report with some features. I want to tell you now a bit about some pros and cons of this. So I have showed you the chart where BI is showing the top right as the market leader on this market space. And hopefully through these demonstrations you were able to see some of those strengths and benefits. I've also mentioned why BI can be used as a self-service tool, which is a change in paradigm in the way most companies work. And to me personally, the one that says automates data transformation is the main benefits. It's due to the work that I do. I was able to save many days just by automating those workflows. I haven't talked about licensing at all, but if you look at the other BI tools out there, you will see that Power BI actually offers a lot of value for money. And licensing is a whole topic on its own. If you have any question, by all means, I'll address it. But BI really provides value for money. And the other thing I would mention here is we can integrate with other Microsoft products. Obviously, this is a Microsoft tool, so it's very easy that everything lives under the same umbrella to connect with other products they have. But it's not all great, there's some cons as well. And a con I would point out straight away is the DAX language. I haven't talked about this at all. But DAX is a language that looks a lot like Excel, but it doesn't behave in the same way. So people usually have they need some time to get their heads around DAX, so there's definitely some learning to do there. And I'm also mentioning that this is a recent product. So on the one hand, we have regular updates. There's a new RBI version every single month. We also have to bear in mind this is only a 4-year-old product. So even though I haven't found bugs as such, we need to realize that not all features might be fully developed yet. So we need to be patient for some things to be developed. Well, the upside though is that if enough users vote a feature on the forums, the BI team will actually develop that feature and ship it out for everyone to enjoy. So actually the users have a voice in the development of the software, which is great to see. And these cons here about business analytics, they don't relate to the software itself, they relate to the approach. And I usually say that in this case, data accuracy is unforgiving. And what I mean by that is that as opposed to Excel, which is very happy to spit out an answer, even though there's many problems in the background that it doesn't care about, Power BI doesn't act in that way. If there's problems with the data, we'll not get the result out of it. So we need to fix that data before we can get some output out of it. And I actually say that that's actually a good thing, because it makes us fix our models and make the data be what it should be in the first place. The AI just makes us have to do it, so we have no way around that. So I find that to be actually a benefit. And the final thing is the assurance of complex models. I can show you what a data model looks like when it's all done. So those right there are data sources that I've extracted from many different places, and those are the connections between the data sources. So we need to follow some rules and some procedures to make sure that we can explain. We come into the explainability as well. So there's definitely some thinking to do before we start building reports, so I want to point that out as well. And I think I'm wrapping up here. Not sure if this will be sent around to everyone, but I'm leaving here my contact and a few free resources. There's a Microsoft ebook, there's an online course which I really recommend if you're interested in any of this. And yeah, by all means, just contact me if you have any questions that I can help with. Thank you. So we have 10 minutes to...
Yeah, any questions, please address them to Flavio. And no questions?
Will you send in slides around?
Yeah, the question, all the slides will be sent around. Just takes some time to process the videos and stuff like that, but they will be there within a week.
Excellent.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. Just interested in know if there's capability to link with building management systems.
Yeah. So it really depends. Is it an asset you're talking about? Is it an asset where you stream real-time data?
Sorry?
Is it an asset where you can stream data in real time, or is it that you're gathering data and maybe you want to do something else with it?
A live feed.
Yeah, so yeah, as I was explaining here through this report, that's exactly the example I was mentioning. If you have the system in place where you gather data already elsewhere, it is very easy just to shift that source here and then start seeing that in real time. But what I usually tell people is it's great having the charts move in real time, but the question is why? Why do we need that? What are we going to do with it? You know your asset better than all of us, but I usually say that we need to have a purpose out of that. So yes, we can do that, but I would say we need to have a reason and an action to take out of that effort. Yeah. Questions?
Any other questions? I have a tricky one. Have you tried using custom visuals and creating custom visuals that can integrate them into Power BI?
Yeah, I've used a few custom visuals, but what I would say there for people to be aware that some custom visuals aren't reviewed by Microsoft in terms of security. So you might be opening their back door to your system even though you don't know it. And Microsoft says, yes, whoever provided that is responsible for that data, so they clean their hands there. So even though there's definitely useful third-party visuals you can integrate, I just tell people to think about that. and see if there's any security concerns that might arise on that. I try to stick with the custom, with the default visuals. That's usually the best way to go because it integrates better with the tool and it's fully supported by Microsoft. So that's also a thing to consider.
You said it handles a lot of data. What do you call a lot of data?
So I just saw a presentation the other day where they handled 1 trillion rows of data, and that is big data. So they've basically been able to solve a problem that many companies have been trying to solve for many years, which is handle that data and have performance at the same time. And they have a feature, I'm sure you've seen that, called data aggregations.
Yeah.
So when you're streaming data from with a direct query connection, you can implement these aggregations, which will speed up the process a lot. It's actually a very simple idea, but they were able to implement it and gain performance through that. So I believe big data is defined as anything that doesn't fit inside a computer. So trillions of rows, you can deal with that here if you set up that model right. So that's another big advantage. I have not dealt with that much information in the projects I have been working on, but I have seen people do it, and Microsoft is a tool that you can use to process those amounts of data. For sure.
So it's something I've been meaning to get around to doing the tool. I noticed you've got default visuals for R script and Python.
Yeah.
I've not actually played with them yet. I've not had time. I was wondering if you ever got them to work, or if you ever got them to.
I never really did much of R scripting, to be honest.
No.
But those two right there are the ones you want.
Yeah.
You have R script where you have to install a bunch of
Yeah.
modules, and that one is Python,
Yeah.
so you can do the same thing.
Yeah.
What I have helped people with, R scripts, and I found they weren't very efficient.
Right.
Maybe it was the script itself and not the way the tool deals with it.
Okay.
But I found that doing most stuff through the native Power BI language was a lot more efficient. So it might be that specific script, but I think the point is you do have the flexibility, and lots of people work on this language. So you can just migrate all of that into the BI solution, and then you don't have to have any extra work. So yeah, that's definitely the potential to do that there.
Okay.
You showed some AI functions that's built into Power BI.
Yeah.
What about doing? I think they call it server-side integration or things like that. So you actually send API calls out to other things and get answers back. So you might want to do textual analysis or something like that. Is that possible as well?
It is possible on the service, which I was beginning to show with the internet connection. So what you can do, so I showed how to transform the spreadsheet and move things around and automate the process. You can do the same on the online website. And it's through that portal we can actually hook up to things like Azure machine learning. So you can have a data scientist doing all the hard work of doing natural language processing or image processing, and they create a function for you. You can use that as a function, and you don't even have to know how to program any of that. So that you can do through the online portal, and it's actually very interesting. Microsoft have released some videos recently, and that's, I think, the area they are working the most right now, is to developing those capabilities. So it's just a shame I can't show you, but that definitely can be done on the online portal.
Good. Any more questions? No. Thank you very much, Julian.
All right, cheers.
I keep